Hey, welcome Kirby World. This is Randy McCreary and
Mark Kilo.
coming from the studio here in World Headquarters.
And
Tesha Finley.
yes, Tesha
We're
Finley.
going to get our special guest here in just a moment. And
Is this live?
this is live.
I
Yes,
like
it is.
that.
This is live.
Live from Cleveland, Ohio.
We hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and
Ho,
looking
ho,
forward to
ho.
a great new year. Before we get started with the interview and the Year-End Growth Workshop with Tesha, we just want to remind you of a few things that are obviously happening. Started on December 21st, ending January 5th. We have Phase 3 of Kirby Life Blitz, which means if you're bringing a person into a recruiting workshop, all right, or just a recruiting seminar,
Just one.
you're going to get the Kirby Life Awards mug. If you bring in two, they get Mark.
You're going to get the beautiful autographed football by the owner of Right Lane Industries, who owns Kirby, Eric Mara.
And then if you
That's
get,
for two.
and you're going to go into a drawing
For
all right,
the
if you brought in
mystery
two
spot.
people.
For the return to the Lost City, one lucky person will win a trip to South Africa, paying your minimum of Kirby's, of course, and having one Kirby Life. By the way, Tesha, in this month of December, or maybe even in this last Blitz, how's your company doing for Kirby Lifers?
We've got about 3 right now that are in it, so we're excited to grow with
You
that.
pitch that every morning in your morning meeting?
Absolutely, you got to if you want them to come.
I agree. Some people don't know the importance of talking about it.
And also what we're doing, which we're going to get to that in just a moment, we're also giving away, all right, for anybody who goes into it, there's a drawing for a $500 American Express Visa gift card. And who could use an extra $500 right now? We're at the new year starting. Pay off some bills, take care of some rent, maybe buy some Kirby for inventory. Whatever you're doing, it's going to be positive. But we do have a special guest with us today, coming from Texas. She's just in a brand new office
Texas?
she built. She's down in Texas.
Is that
And
the Lone Star State?
it is. And
Why do they
you
call it that?
might ask her that.
I was going to.
So you can ask that in a moment. So we do want you to know the resume of people that you're talking to, because we tried to pick some of the most successful distributors we have, and Tesha definitely builds the resume like that. I know that Tesha, I think you're a 7-time Gold Circle distributor. I think you've promoted 17, or you've recommended 17 factory distributors on the Road to Success program.
Positive.
You received the $50,000 bonus. I was there to watch you get that check. That was down in Texas at a workshop we had. I know you had a big contingency there. I know you're a Kirby Life recruit yourself. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And I think you just bought a big, beautiful building for your distributorship to continue growth and all the success and promotions that are happening. So we appreciate you joining us here today. We really do. We know you're busy, so let's just get at the questions so the audience can hear maybe some of the answers and maybe give them some insight on why you're so successful and what you can do to maybe help them. One of the things I know when I just read your resume there, and I was looking at that, it sounds to me like goals are really important to you and your organization, because to accomplish what you did, you had to have a lot of goals. So how important are goals to you, and how do you impart those on your organization, especially when you're starting to put a person on a program? How do you get them to set up goals for themselves?
One thing I've noticed when people kind of are new, they don't really know how to set goals. So what I try to do is first find out their why, like what do you really want? And I try to get it not to be money, because I tell them dig a little deeper. You know, if your why doesn't make you want to cry, it's not a big enough why, like whether it's buy your mom a house, provide something for your kids. But try to find something deeper than just money. And then once I find out what that is, then I break down what it'll take to accomplish that and get them to kind of start writing those things down. And one thing I try to just impart on them is one thing David Kane used to always say is the only thing worse than being blind is not having a vision. So I try to get them to have like a vision past just showing up and being here, and focusing on something bigger than that. So I just break it down to them. If you want to become a factory distributor, how do we do that? And then we start obviously with the months of 15, and we kind of just build from there. And at the beginning of every year, I try to have an AOP meeting and get them to think past just instant gratification, like something bigger than just what today might bring. And that's kind of where we start, and we go from there.
Wow, so you just really help outline for them and get a program so they can start to copy that. That's fantastic. Mark?
It's absolutely brilliant. Hey, I have a quick question for you, Tesha. Now, bear in mind, the president of the company is watching. How many people do you have in your organization presently between the main and DTs, would you estimate?
25 to 30 on average.
And is that enough to go Golden Circle?
It's enough, but it'd be a lot easier with 40 or 50.
I agree. Now, where do you see this year ending?
We'll be at 1,800.
So not enough to go Golden Circle, but 1,800, that'll get you 180 free Kirby's this year.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Pretty exciting. Congratulations.
I think that's why I would definitely do that for 180 free Kirby's. Joe, one of the things we talk about, I know you're involved in recruiting a lot of in your organization. You work with your recruiters a lot. I know we recruit on attitude, but we teach skills. And I think it's important that we to distinguish between both, but how do you help create a winning attitude to your team? I mean, your content, your meeting is great, but how do you get people to start to think bigger and have a great attitude that helps them move through the business? Because this is an attitude business.
Absolutely. Well, one of the first things I teach is attitude as a habit. I mean, honestly, if you're positive, it's just something you practice every day. But if you're negative, I always say people practice that every day too. And unfortunately, some people get really good at it. So you have to try to, like, anytime you have like negative things coming into your mind, you have to replace them with something positive. And I try to teach gratitude a lot too. Matter of fact, that's what my meeting was on today, because they say it's impossible to be grateful and negative at the same time. So if you focus on things you're being grateful for, it's really hard to be negative at that same point in time. So you can just replace that. But I think the biggest thing is probably just surrounding yourself by the right people. Because, if you're hanging out with the person that's always complaining, you're going to also be complaining. But if you surround yourself with people that lift you up, one of the examples I always use is, like, if you're drowning, the last thing you need is someone drowning hanging onto your back, because you're going to drown that much faster. What you need is someone to pull you out of that water, breathe some life into you, and show you there's another way. So I think and obviously books are great. When I was coming up through Kirby, I read a lot of books, just things that focused on mindset. And I don't think it's just like sales oriented. I read things like Personality Plus that taught me how different people think different ways, and it will help you when you're going in front of customers, but more importantly, when you're trying to run a business. When you move up, it'll help you deal with different types of people. But ultimately, just put the right stuff in your brain. I think of my brain like a garden. Anytime that weeds exist, I try to pluck them out so that my garden can grow and be like fulfilling and beautiful. So I think we let too many weeds in our lives a lot of times, and we got to kind of just separate ourselves from those things so we can be positive. And it just comes a lot naturally when you practice it every day. So that's kind of, I think, where you start, and then it goes from there.
Oh, thank you.
Unbelievable. This is why we're interviewing this young lady. If you're paying attention, very deep. Now, this is a three-part question. First, what color is that wall behind you in your new office?
It's red.
Red, okay. Secondly, what's the secret to retention? And you have a great knack of producing 15-plus dealers. So what's the secret to retention and producing 15-plussers?
I mean, I think it's really simple. There's no rocket science behind it. You just get them to focus on simple things. Like, we draw 60 circles out and have them fill it in when they're doing a demo. And, just get to 60 demos. Don't even worry about being great at sales right now. Let's just get in front of another customer. And I think when you keep it simple and not overcomplicate, anybody can do it, and they don't have to feel like, oh, I got to be this great salesperson, or I got to have all this talent. And, we just tell them, look, 90% of your success is showing up every single day. And, if they're there and they just focus on getting in front of another customer, and obviously the attitude has something to do with it as well. But most of it, just show up. We'll teach you everything else. We'll teach you the talent, just bring the work ethic, the discipline, and show up every day. And you will outsell people that are way more talented than you. And so really, we just start with simple stuff. It's really nothing complicated. Just get some goals. We'll tell you how many demos you need to do. Fill in those circles. If you fill in enough of them, you'll hit a month of 15. And then when you want to up your goal, we'll start talking about 2-in-a-days and 3-in-a-days, because what I'll say is, look, if you want to sell 15, you get good at 2-in-a-days. If you do 5 2-in-a-days, you got 25 days left to sell 5 more Kirby's. You know what I mean? So we'll start trying to focus on multiples, and that makes obviously big numbers a lot easier. But we start with just the 60 circles.
Wow. I mean, I think Mark said it the best. As some of the advice you're giving right now is really just fantastic for every listener. I have a quick question about recruiting, because that's obviously something that's important to me and it's important to every distributorship out there right now. But you yourself are a Kirby Life recruit. You know, we talk about Kirby Life. We've gone through phase 1, 2, and 3 right now for the Blitz. I know you're a Kirby Life, and I said Mark is a Kirby Life person. Some of our most successful people, the president of Kirby companies, are Kirby Life. You know, so in your morning meetings or in your recruiting, how often you talk about Kirby Life? How do you pitch that? And why do you think it's so successful for people come in as a Kirby Life recruit?
Well, obviously, there's a lot less selling that needs to be involved in getting someone, if you bring them in on Kirby Life, because they've already seen someone be successful at it, which is why they're there in the first place. So I think obviously there's a lot less upfront work you have to do, and that makes it easier to teach them the important stuff because they're already the first. Most time people start Kirby, we got to first sell them on the business, and that takes a little bit of time because they don't really start doing well till they get sold, which is why we used to always have that banner, "Let yourself be sold," because it's hard to sell something else if you're not sold yet. So I think it takes that away, and we can start really getting to the meat and potatoes and get them straight to learning how to sell a bunch of Kirby's. But, you know, my brother brought me in and, you know, we came from very humble beginnings, and I just took one look at the situation he was in and was like, whatever I got to do, I'll do it. So I came in much different than your average recruit. And I also brought my daughter in who, you know, and she brought several people in too. Some of the Kirby Lifers we have now are people she's brought in. So, and I think it's, you know, so much easier to sell them on the important stuff of Kirby once they're already sold on the business itself. So I'm super sold on it. Obviously, you know, I've been to distributor meetings, supervisor meetings where you tell the people to stand up if they're a Kirby Life recruit. And one thing you notice is most of the room stands up. So I think the proof is in the pudding. You know, they say success leaves clues. You just got to follow the clues. So when you see something being successful, then you have to try to implicate that and do it yourself. Repeat what's already been done. This is not, you don't have to be unique or super smart to be in Kirby. You just got to be smart enough to follow those clues. And I think one of the biggest clues in Kirby is Kirby Life works, and it gives you a stronger recruit, and you have to follow that to be able to, you know, take advantage of that yourself in your own organization. So
Beautiful.
Hey,
Very well said.
and last question by Mr. Elo.
What makes you think this is the last question? We've got many more questions, Randy. But this will make this, again, like a 3-4 part question, just to kind of, in an effort to move things along. All right. Not to take anything away, fabulous job this year, 1,800, 180 free Kirby's, consistently one of the top distributors in the world. I think a lot of that has to do with structure. Maybe you could elaborate for a quick second on maybe what time your meeting starts, what time your meeting ends, how many crews are you running on a daily basis, how many DTs do you have presently, are you still doing K-Pin dinners and monthly banquets?
yeah, we just did our Silver K dinner. We do those consistently. And we'll usually have them try to bring a spouse or something, you know, and I try to take a minute in our, you know, meetings, and whether it's a banquet or a dinner or whatever, and just take a minute and like thank the spouse. And I think that's very important. And one of the things I do is I just really say, hey, I know like sometimes when we're out late at night, you're like, there's no way they're selling a vacuum cleaner this late at night. And I'll just kind of cover that and let them know, hey, they're out here working for you. They're trying to win you a trip. They're trying to do this and that. And I think it's important to also focus that direction, but almost as important as talking to the person themselves. But yeah, we do everything consistently. We start our meeting at 9:30 in the morning, and we try to be out of here by 10:30. Obviously, they're Kirby people, so sometimes they lag around a little bit, but we try to make sure it's at least by 10:30. 11 at the absolute latest, trying to wrangle some of the people out of the office, but definitely that time. And then, you know, we do consistently have things like whether it's breakfast with our guys to talk to them if people get a little off track, you know, you got to meet with them. I think what the most important thing of all of this is a people business. And I think we get stuck on the fact that, we're selling a vacuum cleaner or something like that. For me, it's has nothing to do with that. Like I'm in the people business. I don't even have a desk in my office. I have a conference table because I'm always talking to people. And if I have a desk, that means I'm doing like office work. But no, I'm not trying to do office work. I'm trying to like get my people to think bigger and to program them and do things like that. Because I think if you can like do that, the other stuff comes naturally. Them selling a Kirby, they'll just want to sell a Kirby when you get them to think bigger. They'll just want to do all those things. But I think the most important thing is that we all understand we're in the people business. You got to always be working people, and not in a bad way, in a positive way, because everybody wants to think bigger. Everybody wants to do more. And I think it's your responsibility to always be showing them how to do that and just letting them know that, hey, we believe in you. You just have to believe in yourself. Maybe your goal's too small. Maybe you need to set it a little bigger. Maybe you need to believe in yourself just a little bit more because you're capable of more. Most people don't have people in their lives that talk to them like that. So when they get someone that really like digs deeper and shows them what they're capable of, they appreciate that and they just naturally want to sell more Kirby's. So I just try to talk to people a little bit different and get them to think a little bit bigger because everybody has it in them and they all want to anyway. They just want someone there that's going to push them to do that. So I try to mostly do that with my people. And I hope that answered your question because you asked me like 10 at a time and I may have only done like 3. But so if I missed anything, let me know. But I tried to answer it.
You did fabulous. We like to let you, we ask the question, but you take the run with it. Here's the last question that I have, because I think this will tie it all together. Lastly, like, when do you know to promote someone? Because you're fabulous at promoting. You got a ton of factories out. I think you have 3 DTs kind of almost in the hopper. I think I just saw some paperwork from Infin, right? So when do you know how to take a dealer to become a manager and a manager to become a DT? You know what I mean? Like, just give us that in summation.
So for me, I think like people have different timelines. I don't think there's like an exact science. I do try to kind of stick by like the qualifications. But I think some people need to go a little bit faster, if I'm being honest. I mean, my daughter, she's going a little bit faster because she just grew up in Kirby. She knows Kirby. She's ready to go. I mean, she just, I think, and she said something to me, which was crazy because what I told her, I was like, you're only 19. Obviously it's your kid. You want to protect them. Like, I don't know if you're ready for this, but what she said to me, it was profound. She said, listen. She said, I see people stick around here and they kind of lose their Kirby mojo. She goes, I don't want to be that person. You need to give it to me while I'm hot. You know what I mean? And so I said, you're promoted. You know what I mean? So it just like, and it was like something really I should have said to her, but she like said it to me. But I think sometimes, we let people cool off a little bit and we really shouldn't do that. Like, like while they're super excited about their career and they're going to go do everything they're being taught to do, give them the reins and you might be surprised what they're capable of. And I think, so the timelines for me, like I don't have this exact science behind it, again, there are qualifications, there are certain things, but sometimes someone's just ready. I have another girl that, she's a little older. She's probably not going to have the same timeline as some of these young kids, and so I think you also just it's also just, once you're in the people business and kind of what I was talking about earlier, I think you get better, like finding out what people want, what they're looking for and kind of what they're here for and what they're needing. And you got to kind of fill those gaps, so it's more like, I think if we're just trying to sell vacuums, we're so like matter of fact about the way things need to be done. But if we dig a little deeper and find out what people really want, I think it makes our job a little bit easier as far as how to move them through the system. So that's what I would say, but there's no exact science for me. I kind of, sometimes when people are ready to go quicker, I push them out a little faster.
And I think that's exactly what Gene Rimfelt had in mind with the career growth curve. When they're learning, when they're excited, when they're operating at a peak performance, you got to get them out. And kudos to Minfin. Did she have a gold digger team leader month in November? Did she end up with about 75 or 80?
It wasn't November, it was the month before, but she actually got 95.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Congratulations. And how long has she been in the Kirby business? We're talking about your daughter, for people that don't know, out in TV land.
In January, it'll be a year.
Beautiful. So within 1 year's time, she's going to come in, dealer, team leader, and now about to become a DT. Perfect. Congratulations. Randy, what do you got?
Well, now, listen, we just want to thank you so much for joining us today, Tesha. I think that you guys know this comes to you live, but I think they're archived on Kirby Social, and if I were you, this is one I would watch several times.
Yeah.
Because of the information you just got there was something that wherever you're at in Kirby, as a dealer, DT manager, even FD, there was just some great nuggets there, Tesha. We really appreciate that. We really, really do.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you global leadership.
Could I say something now?
No, you've been talking too much anyways.
I wish that we could talk to Tesha for like an hour because I think Randy hit it. This is, to date, the best, not to take away from anybody, but you're talking to dealers, you're talking to DTs, you're talking to FDs. This is the Kirby business. So really, again, we echo that same sentiment. Thank you for being with us today.
Of course. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Have a happy New Year, too. We'll talk to you soon.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
And for every out in Kirby world, make sure you watch these again and again because they're going to help you. So we are
Positive.
and we are out.